Hey, Shauna. Oh, look, it is actually working.
Is it working? So we're on.
So,
We're so low right now. Come on, put your seat up. There.
so good morning to A1 Vacuum and Sewing's live stream for June 9th,
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
High of 80. Well, it's funny because I asked Google this morning. I said, what's the weather going to be, Google? And it said 82 as a high. And then I asked it again right before I left home, and then it said 80.
So, yeah, so it's going to be in the 80s. Beautiful day.
I can't
Lovely
tell
morning.
where the camera is.
The camera's there.
But
So, we are trying a new system. We should be, in fact, hey, Shauna, would you look at YouTube just to see if it's working? Long story short, we should be actually dual streaming to both YouTube and to Facebook at the same time. I can see that we are definitely live on Facebook. But this should help us with things like demos, stuff like that. And
one camera, because before we were using two, so if we were demoing, Patrick was just like, he was holding two cameras at the same time.
So it should help us focus, stuff like that, all at the same time. Any announcements? I'm looking at you.
No, I don't think I
What did you think I was looking at?
Look at the camera.
Well, no, I was looking at you. I said, any announcements? And you're like, we should be looking at the camera.
I'm so tired. I'm confused. Okay, announcements.
Any classes to announce? Anything like that? All those shifts should have happened. And
you should be getting, I was out of the store most of the day yesterday and filming and doing classes, so I'm going to be catching up today, and you'll start getting your invitations if you registered in the last day or so for Sugar Plum Jubilee and for also Michelle Gilmartin's event. And
we actually had several people call yesterday.
So cute. And all those, so, since we're doing these classes and, I'm filming, if you want to take those classes afterwards, they'll be available. So we're trying to learn how to, I'm not very good with this kind of stuff. So I was going to have Kai, my son, put the videos together and splice and fast forwards through stuff. So it'll get better and better. Right now it's okay. But it'll get better as we're learning, and we'll have great, because I'm doing things that I think will make your life better, for your quilting, for your embroidery, for your binding, for your piping making, for your serging. So we're excited about, we'll have like a video library. Be right back. There we go.
So we are also learning more about the studio and limitations of the studio and stuff like that. So it may be that this particular laptop is struggling with the dual stream. I'll have to watch it back later to see exactly what that's all about. We've got a new dedicated computer, but if you guys are seeing a little bit more glitching than normal this morning, we're just doing a lot more with processing power and stuff like that. And I think a lot of what you're referring to will be addressed by the pre-filming of a lot of that project.
Yeah, we're going to be filming as we make the project and then putting it all together.
So, I mean, there's a lot happening wirelessly in the store right now too. And in the near future, we should have all the equipment necessary to be directly connected, and which will save us from having that struggle with bandwidth.
We're going to be like craftsy.
Yeah, give us some patience with that one. microphones, cameras, stuff like that are all coming. So, deal of the day. Do you want to talk about that now?
We'll do deal of the day after we do Technique Tuesday, because Jean Garcia is here today, and she is going to be going over some technique with you, and the deal of the day has to do with that.
I'm going to step out so I can control the camera.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Okay. So,
well, if you guys know me,
you might have to speak up just a little.
Oh,
you can
louder?
Here. And there's our camera right there.
Okay. I absolutely love everything about quilting. It's piecing.
So wonderful. So if you don't know Jean, I met her because she was a customer, and when I saw her work, I said, "Oh, Jean, please come work for us. Please teach some classes for us. You've got so much to share." And that was how long ago?
Oh gosh, it's been what, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, 3 or 4 years, and she never ceases to amaze me. Never ceases to. I mean, just the work that she does is beautiful. So if you've taken a beginning quilting class from her, she does the ruler work classes here in the store. She, I don't. So this is where I go when I need help and I need advice and I need some guidance. This is who I call.
And I'm always learning. I'm always looking for new ways to do things to make it easier. And one of the things I'm going to show you is what I learned from one of my students, and I thought it was just awesome. So I am going to show you this time how to prepare your fabric and cut. And then hopefully another time I can show you, talk about piecing. But today is getting your fabric ready and getting it cut. Because the most important part of making your tops is your fabric, cutting it, piecing it, and pressing it. You get those 3 things down, you can make anything. So we will start with how I prep my fabric. The first thing I do not care if it is store-bought. I mean, if you wash it or don't wash it, it doesn't matter. You're always, always, always going to stabilize it. Now
So if you're somebody that you should either wash it all or don't wash it all, right? You shouldn't do like, I'm going to wash this piece and this piece I'm not going to wash.
Right.
So to wash or not to wash, that's the question. You decide.
Yeah, I don't care. You just do whatever you want to do. But
why would you either wash or not wash?
Some people.
Some people like to have, because some fabrics shrink at a different amount, some bleed, so sometimes I wash and sometimes I don't, it just depends. So what I did today is you stabilize your fabric. When you stabilize your fabric, you're going to either use this press, a starch, or what's the other thing?
Terrio Magic. I love Terrio Magic. And I use that in a combination, so half and half.
Yeah, and combination of what, your best press?
Best press and Terrio Magic, because if you use just Terrio Magic, it'll gunk up your iron, so half and half.
Yeah, and you can use one of her sprayers that are awesome that you can get here, and it will give you more of a mist than when you use the spray on one of these things. So those are definitely better than the spray. So now I've already stabilized this. Let me tell you one thing about fabric. Fabric has a width of the grain and the length of the grain. The width of the grain has a little bit of give. The length of grain hardly has any. So when I press my fabric, I always press with the length of the grain.
I did not know that. Did you guys know that? I didn't know that.
Well, I didn't know it for years.
Yeah.
And my salvages would look all wonky. I thought, but I'm careful. Well, guess what? You have to, and I don't even go down and go like this. I just go down and up. I do not cross the fabric at all. You want me down lower?
Oh, you know what it is, Patrick? We're totally...
You're latent. That is normal.
Oh.
Okay.
We're always like...
The view's totally different.
We are always a little delayed, Jeannie.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
And you guys, I know, see it on my face, but I'm looking at this going, this doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not
Yeah.
Can
seeing
they
the same
hear
thing.
Jean? Are
Can
you
you-
seeing any comments about being
Are
able
you guys
to?
able to hear Jean okay?
I
Let's see
feel
what
like
they
I'm
say.
yelling.
I can hear her great, but I'm
Okay.
standing next to her.
So anyhow, when I press, I spray on whatever I'm going to use, whatever product, and I'll let it sit for just a little bit because then it soaks in and spreads out. Then I will iron it the length of the fabric.
So parallel to your selvage.
Yes.
Because I've always just gone any way I want.
And that's what
And you get stretch, and your fabric stretches.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And then your fibers going any way you want.
Yeah.
So then, once I have it all pressed, and I'll let it sit for a little bit. I don't do this right away because it's still a little bit damp. Then I will get the fold straight. So let me show you. If I were to put this right on the edge, look at the selvages.
I know you guys have had that happen before.
So what you do is I put my finger in the corner and I'll slide my fabric so that it ends up being.
And that's so
straight.
smart too, because a lot of times I lay it down and I never thought about doing it this way. So much easier than what I've been doing.
Well, when I grew up making clothes, and when you make clothes, the patterns would have this arrow, and you put that on the straight of the grain, so your clothes would hang correctly. This is the same thing. If you don't get it on the straight of the grain, your fabric's gonna not. After a while, it's gonna be going wonky.
And now look, we're perfect.
Yeah.
The edge is totally perfect, and look at the back side.
Okay, so now we've got this wonky thing here, and that's what we're gonna take care of. The other thing, though, I want to tell you, if you have a big piece of fabric, sometimes you have 2 yards. I'll start in the middle, and I'll get it so it looks like there aren't any weird waves in it. Then I'll fold it in half, hold it in front of me, and just straighten it up until it looks like this. You want it to hang straight. Okay, so now you've got to get rid of this end. You want to get rid of this wonky stuff. Now I usually have the fold towards me. I'm gonna do that. I'll have the fold towards me because that's what we're working off of, is the fold. And we're gonna make a right angle to the fold. This is the trick I learned from, I believe it was Kathy, when I was doing the ruler work. She learned it at the Reno Quilt Show. But anyhow, you will, turn it this way. You're going to place this ruler, I need to come clear over here. You're going to place this ruler so that it's on the fold, straight on the fold. Then you're going to take your second ruler and you're going to place it, butt it right up next to it. Now, normally, for some reason, I can see on this side where I've had to adjust it. You can see I have plenty. If I wanted to, I could move over so I didn't lose any of my fabric. And I'll just double check. I press it next to it. All's good. Now, the one thing I like about these rulers, they have self-sticky stuff on it.
They have those anti-slip grids, grippers on the back of them. So these are the creative grid rulers that we've been raving about, that I absolutely love, that I've been switching to, trying to move on over and migrate to creative grids because they're just so nice.
Okay, when I look at this, something's not right. Okay, this is weird.
You good? Looks good.
There. See, I always look at this one too.
Yes.
Are you a little bit of a perfectionist, Jean?
Yeah, probably.
But you know, with quilting, if you want it to come out right, and I don't even know if it's being a perfectionist.
You know what it is? When I started out, there were no classes, and I struggled and struggled, and you know, I'd use the steam iron to make my blocks the shape I wanted them. It was a hot mess. So this.
I know you've never had a hot mess before.
Yeah. So then when you do it, it seems like
Hey, Shauna.
perfectionist. You get used to it, and you get so you just naturally do it. Everything just falls into place, and you're not sitting there cussing. My walls have turned blue a few times because it's just so bad. So when you cut, you do not cut with your hand down. Your hand is up. If you have a big hand, you can stick your finger over on the side. And that's why I like these, because I can't get my hand spread.
We're little with little hands.
Yeah. Now, when you cut, I see people that cut like this and get it right along the edge. I find for me to get a perfect piece the way I need it, I cut straight up and down. If you stand over here, you're not going to be right. You're going to be, hold your ruler straight, and you're going to come up. When you get to your hand, you're going to stop. You're going to walk your hand up. You're going to go. You're going to walk your hand up. You're going to go. Make sure that you have gotten all your cut before you move your ruler, because going back is...
We just keep
because you're thinking they aren't cheap, and it's just that one.
That one spot.
Yeah. So then, okay, so now, what if I need to cut strips at 2.5? Okay, I will find my line, and I line it up. And, you know, it doesn't exactly matter how you do it, as long as you consistently do it the same way, because then you can adjust how you sew your seam so that you get the perfect size block. So then I've got and what I do is, because trust me, I have lined it up on the wrong line up there and the right line down here. And then guess what? And you don't notice it until after you've cut it. So I always eyeball it. I'll put my ruler there. I put my ruler here.
And here's another great thing with your creative grid rulers is whole numbers are going to be in white, halves are going to be in black, and that makes it really easy to work with too.
It does. And see, I can see right here the numbers 1 and 2 are very large, and the ½ inch is right there. So I'm not having to look to see, okay, where's the ½ inch? I've used these rulers, and they're nice. They're very nice.
They're the best.
But to replace all my rulers.
Worth it, ladies. It's worth it.
Okay, so now I've set this up at my 2.5. I look down here and I make sure it's all on the same line, and I look across this way and make sure it's sitting right on the fold, ready to go. So then I'll just go ahead and I cut, cut, cut. Now you can do 2 or 3 of these cuts, and all of a sudden it's not straight anymore. It is just the nature of the game. That's the way it is. So then I would do the same thing. And see, it's
another thing that'll help hold your fabric, ladies, the edge out. You're cutting, your rotary cutter is going to push that fabric a little bit.
Well, and you know, it just goes wonky after a while. Now see, this one, it's right there. There we go. This is right there. The larger piece that your ruler isn't able to do. You can use your board. Now, some people say, don't use your board. Some people say, do use your board. I have 2 different ways I do it. I will either say I need a 9-inch. I know this is what, a 6.5?
Yep.
And so I need to add 2.5 inches if our brain's working right that day. So I would set this up at 2.5, slide my ruler over, and I can cut. Now this is the exact same thing you would do if you're a lefty. You would just do it on the other side.
How great is that? I never thought about adding my 2 rulers together like that.
Yeah. And so then I have it all wonky. Or you can, if you want, your little squares, line it up with the numbers, a big piece of fabric, and I'll measure it to make sure that I've got it where it needs to be. God, I thought of something, now it's just out of my brain. But if you're consistent, be consistent, take your time. I see You know, they're just slapping it out there. And for some things, that's fine, but not when you're piecing. I have one friend that she'll piece 6-inch squares, 50 pieces in that 6-inch square. You have to be precise. And that's the, what is the farmer's?
60 pieces in 6 inches.
I wonder how quickly the scan and cut would do that.
There's lots of ways to cut.
Yeah.
Stripology, I know.
I thought, oh, this is really cool. So I was reading the pattern, 260 2.5-inch squares for one color.
Yeah. So that's
so if you use the stripology,
yes,
you just be cranking it out.
Sure.
But as long as you make sure that yours on grain, you don't want to be off grain, because then it's just not going to sit right. The other thing is, by stabilizing your fabric, when you go to put these pieces together, they just nestle together. You don't have this floppy piece of fabric that's just gonna do whatever it wants to do.
Yes. So
that's the name of the game.
I mean, sometimes you hear just one thing and it makes everything worth it. I did not know that we should be pressing along the selvage.
Well, I didn't know for a long time either. My selvages look like.
And I love that trick, just holding your fabric up and lining it up, because I've always done it just laying it down on my cutting mats too.
You at one end and I'd stand at the opposite end, and we'd pull it to get it back into, because you knew the but it was going.
It's going to be the 6.5 inch. And I love that, because sometimes you need that extra ½ inch. A lot of the rulers that I've bought in the past have been this 6-inch by the 24-inch, and this is going to be a 6.5 by a 24.5-inch ruler. So that extra ½ inch makes a big difference.
Well, and I will have to say, this is the first time I've used this ruler, and the markings are, I'm blind practically. And these markings are very clear. I didn't even have to put my glasses on to see them.
Yeah, the markings, they're bold, they're easy to see. Yeah. They're going to be great on almost any cutting mat that you're using. We're in the deal of the day. It's not this ruler. We're doing the 10.5-inch ruler. So 10.5 by 10.5, like this. 10% off today, just for today. The 6.5 by 24, and then the 10.5-inch square. So, Shane Garcia, thank you so much. Oh, you have something else to show us?
Well, I just want to say, I made this yesterday. It was supposed to be 12.5, 12 finished, and I had no problems. It just went together. I stabilized my fabrics. That's a huge thing. Making sure you do your cut butts. Huge. And next time, whenever Ginny has me come around, I'll talk about piecing.
Yeah.
And there we go.
And I think that's it for today. So, Patrick, any other announcements?
Think
it looks good.
And we'll watch it later to see exactly what happens as we're learning about this whole thing. So I think when we get a camera directly connected rather than wirelessly connected, that's going to help quite a bit as well. So,
look at that.
you know, we're